Like you kept growing or something, is what Paul George said. Did we really have an NBA playoff game decided by a finger? There's that. And there's Patrick Beverleying. He said Jokic flails. Jokic responded to look at the free throws in the game. 26-10 in favor of Los Angeles. 2-1 Clippers after a game anybody could have had. Woody, you want to start with the finger or the Clippers closing this one out in a game Denver was right there till the end, or you want to talk about the state you find this series in? The floor is yours, Woody Page.
Well, the Nuggets had double-digit leads in both the second and third quarters and let it get away in the fourth quarter. But I thought the entire key to that game last night was Paul George taking over for Leonard, who had been averaging almost 30 points a game in the playoffs. And George was doing the job both offensively and defensively, how he was able to keep Murray. And your big man has to step up. Murray, who had all those 50-point games, had 14 points for the second time in the series. And if he's going to disappear, the Nuggets do have no chance. And that's exactly what happened. And then the fickle finger of fate by Leonard, who was struggling really to get his points, and he was turning to assist and letting George take over in the game. So the Nuggets blew their chance of really getting back into the series last night.
Bomani Jones?
All right, so the thing about the Nuggets is they've got as many dudes on their roster as anybody in the playoffs that you absolutely have to guard. And they got as many dudes as anybody else in the playoffs who just are like, hey, would you like to score? Because you can score on me whenever it is that you want to. This is the dilemma of this team and what it's going to be, right? This is what it's going to stay being for them. And this felt like a game that they had a chance to win. The disappointing part for them is that they went so cold in the fourth quarter, and at that point weren't able to really to get any points on the board. But I look at the Clippers, and I still worry after this game, nobody seems to be able to get a shot for anybody else. So many of the shots that they wind up getting look like they are difficult at all times. Like it's not really coming from any scheme, any flow, or for any playmakers. It's just go for what you know. And that might get them past the Nuggets. But, man, I don't like that long term.
Frank Isola, is this about what L.A. is doing down the stretch, or is Denver really right there in the series?
It's interesting. Woody mentioned double digits. It's about one digit, and that would be the middle finger of Kawhi Leonard. When you think about that play, he has had some, he shut down LeBron James in NBA Finals, was the Finals MVP. Last year, we know all about the shot that he had against Philadelphia, went on to win a championship. This is why he's a true superstar. He gets it done on both ends of the court, and as opposed to just launching up three-pointers, he actually gets into the lane, makes mid-range jump shots, and late in the game, he has the ability to make that kind of play. The Clippers are better, and they proved it in the last 5 minutes of that game. That game was there for the taking for Denver. They were out-executed, and Kawhi came up with the big play of the game.
Frank, do you share Bomani's, let's say, consternation with this team and their offense and how they get points in need?
Well, here's the thing about them. Remember, it was kind of, getting down to the bubble. You had Lou Williams with the wing situation that he had. Montrezl Harrell was away because of a death in the family. So they really haven't been that connected yet. I think they'll get better as the playoffs go along. They like to play small, and the team that they could end up playing in the Western Conference Finals, the Lakers, have struggled when the Clippers have played small.
Bomani, hearing Frank say that, does that sway you in any way, that the Clippers still are trying to formulate a roster because they've been apart for most of the season?
I mean, I think that's part of it, but it's also worth noting that if the Clippers do wind up winning a championship, would you have ever thought that a team that was dependent on 19 points a game from Montrezl Harrell was going to be the one to win a championship? Like, when you really stop and think about that, that's a different kind of math than we're used to on a team that can win it. So they have a chance because the Lakers obviously don't look dominant. The Rockets in their little ball, it's hard to believe that you can keep going with that, but so far. But I didn't come out of this game with the Clippers being like, oh, well, they're going to dispatch of the Nuggets. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes 6 or 7 games.
What do you know? Jokic here better than anybody, of course. And, he's a star for this team. He's a star for this league. To hear Patrick Beverley call him out last night, what do you think that does to Jokic?
Nothing. He lets everything rub off his back like a duck. I mean, he makes more fun of himself than any other players do. But the thing that Beverly was referring to was he got all the centers for the Clippers, all of them into foul trouble, but it was happening before the bonus. So he was really not going to the free throw line, but he does admit that he sells the foul when it happens. So that's the flailing about, even though he said he didn't really know the meaning of the word.
And Frank?
Well, I do think that big players, and Shaq has talked about this a lot, they get hit all the time. So I think he's trying to exaggerate to get calls. But this is Patrick Beverley being Patrick Beverley. He goes after Damian Lillard. He talks about Luka Doncic. Now it's Jokic. Patrick Beverley, for a guy, and this is the thing about the Clippers. Except for Doc Rivers and Kawhi, none of them have won anything, but they do a lot of talking, led, of course, by Patrick Beverley. This is part of his game. He's trying to get under Jokic's skin, and I actually think it worked a little bit after the game.
Okay. Well, last point on the Kawhi middle finger. I mean, that would have pulverized any normal mortal's finger. I mean, it would have turned it to dust. How he's able to get the block there because he's got a claw for a hand, but automatically top 10 all-time finger, that finger there. I know you have other suggestions. Joe Namath running off the field, and Jay Cutler once gave you a finger, I believe, Woody Beach, and Ronnie Lott, and now this cool.
What about the finger Tree Rollins bid on Danny Ainge? That's what.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, that's another one. All right, we'll move on. Mutombo, an extra point for Mutombo. There we go, the wagging finger. Good. We'll move on. Bucks Heat tonight. Will Giannis play? Should Giannis play? That's going to be our conversation right here. He'd have to go from walking boot to running. The intrigue is that the series is 3-1. It was 3-0, so it's whether it's wise to risk it to do something that's never been done before in the sport. But on the other side, the team, should they get run? And Giannis, should he be the two-time MVP who got run on the verge of an offseason that's not going to be comfortable? Frank, what should the Bucks do? What should Giannis do?
Yeah, it's been a difficult series. You go back to Game 2, the foul called when he fouled Jimmy Butler. Games 3 and 4, he got injured. I believe that if he feels he can help the team, I do think he'll be out there. I think you almost have to change up at certain times the way that he plays. How did he hurt his ankle? With the big Euro step, he's constantly stepping into the lane. There's a lot of traffic there. That's why he's stepping on ankles. Maybe try him a little bit in the post. They have done that before with him. Maybe try to draw double teams. I don't know how much Euro stepping he'll do, but I think he's going to try to give it a go tonight.
But that's from a series standpoint and a game standpoint. I'm also asking now, Frank, from the bigger picture, how the Bucks need to keep Giannis happy and keep him healthy and keep him in Milwaukee. Does any of that factor into it for you, Frank?
I think on some level it certainly does. This was a team with championship aspirations, at least getting to an NBA Finals. And when you watch them play, they don't have enough dogs on that team. I look at Miami, they got a bunch of tough guys out there, whether it's Bam Adebayo, Jay Crowder, even Goran Dragic, Tyler Hero. It looks like the Milwaukee Bucks, they don't have a lot of guys that want to.
Did you just not name?
They did in the last game. But
Frank, you didn't name Jimmy Butler.
Well, no, of course, Jimmy Butler. I'm talking about the role players. That's the key.
Yeah, okay. But Monty Jones, how about you?
I mean, I think they have to let him try, and if it becomes clear that he's going to make the team worse, then you sit him down. But a guy like him, the kind of competitor that he is, he's going to want to try. And I do think you have to be concerned with trying to keep him happy, right? Like, this is the best thing that's happened to your team since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. If that dude wants to go out here and try, then we're going to let him try. But the thing is, they've been a little bit better without him on the floor. There's too much to expect him to be self-aware about that fact. But I don't think that you could put him out there to the point where he could, like, seriously injure himself. If there's any concern there, then absolutely you don't have him out there. But you got to let him try. If he wants to try and it's not terribly harmful for him to do so, you got no choice but to put him out there. Now, when Frank talks about whether you got enough dogs around him, I just don't think they have enough good players. And I think an offensive strategy that is entirely dependent on this one guy starting from 40 feet away and getting ahead of steam, that's just not going to work in the playoffs, because by the time it's done, he picks up his dribble, there's 4 people around him, and nobody can do anything.
Yeah.
Woody, when Bomani brought up Kareem as a player, or Alcindor as a player at that time, we know the history, how that ended for Milwaukee. So how much does that factor into Giannis right now?
Well, in regard to playing tonight, I want to start with that. I thought Frank was going to give us a reference of Willis Reed and bring in the Knicks into this argument.
It's too easy.
But
it was too easy.
If I were in charge of the Milwaukee Bucks, and I'm not, I would say you're not playing tonight. We won without you. Let's try and do this again. You can get healthier and get into the lineup where he's not playing 12 minutes. I mean, yeah, guys, you can put him out there, but that looked like a very damaging ankle injury, and I don't think he's really ready to go. And they did manage to play and involve their team. You're talking about they don't have enough dogs. Well, look at next year. Really? They're not going to find a Scottie Pippen or a Butler or somebody like that. There's only a few guys that are major players that are going to be free agents, and they all are under club options. So I think you're going to have to go with this or find somebody like a Hayward that is willing to come there. Who's going to Milwaukee?
You're talking already about what you're going to do in the offseason. This is setting up to be a very uncomfortable offseason for Milwaukee. Should it end tonight, Frank, real quick on Coach Budenholzer?
You know what? I still think he'll survive. I think that he and Giannis are still kind of connected at the hip, so to speak. But they're going to look into this heavily because this was a team, they dominated the regular season. And to Bomani's point, offensively, they just don't look like they have much of a plan. They had a plan when Giannis went out of the game. That's why once he does come back, they just need to move the ball more. Just look at the way Miami plays. It just looks like everyone kind of understands their roles, and they get better shots than the Bucks have been getting.
Make a pick as we go to the next topic right now. I just want to know who I can give points to or mute tomorrow. So you got Milwaukee or Miami tonight? Let me hear it.
Miami.
Miami.
We'll move on. Lakers-Rockets also tonight. And will Russell Westbrook take this shot? Will he be given this shot like he was on Game 2? Bomani, adjustments and adjustments to the adjustment. What's LA's play tonight? What's Houston? And is Westbrook your pivotal player?
Well, I mean, I think the thing that Houston has to think about is it looked like it just got personal again with Russell Westbrook and LeBron James. Like, once you get Westbrook into a situation where he feels like it's him against the dude across from him, all bets are off. I would be trying to keep him away from LeBron at all costs because it gets him in trouble, and that's when he winds up being out of control. For the Lakers, it's very simple. P.J. Tucker's going to try to muscle Anthony Davis. If he's taking shots going forward, they got a chance. If he goes backward like he did in Game 1, they're going to look like a bunch of suckers.
Woody Page?
Well, Westbrook's going to be the most important player in this game because if he's going to continue to shoot three-pointers, 1-6-7 in 5 games he's played, he's got to get to the free throw line. He's been there in 5 games, an average of 3 times, and he's making 1.4 of those. Here's a guy that at one time was going to the free throw line 10 times a game. You can't do his whole game is based on getting inside, getting to the free throw line. It's not shooting three-pointers. And if he's not going to either do that or have assists, Harden's got to score 50 points in order for them to win this game.
Well, it didn't exactly play out that way in Game 1 when the Rockets did win. But, Frank, today, a pivotal Game 3. Is there such a thing? What do you expect to see?
Yeah, Russell Westbrook just needs to play better. 7 turnovers, 1 for 7 on threes. This was a guy who, during the regular season, was 3rd in the league at scoring points in the paint. That's behind Giannis and behind Zion Williamson. When he's sitting there shooting threes, and I get it, he plays with a lot of heart. That's why we love Russell Westbrook. But when you watch him play like this, you know, there's a fine line between being competitive and being selfish. There comes a point, please stop shooting three-pointers and attack the basket.
Yeah, there comes a point. But is he getting that from his coach? Is D'Antoni all right with him shooting threes? Because his whole offense and whole mindset is predicated on no, okay. I don't know.
I feel like
he is.
Russ involves a lot of telling him what to do. That doesn't seem like
exactly.
Yes, I think you're right there. Yeah, that'll be the last point. Well done, Bomani. We'll take a break right here. Coming up, buy or sell in 2 minutes. Some huge money deals in the NFL for Deshaun Watson and DeAndre Hopkins. Be the bad guy for the rest of his career. That's how John McEnroe put it. Here's Novak Djokovic's latest. This whole situation has left me really sad and empty. I checked on the lines person, and the tournament told me that, thank God, she's feeling okay. I'm extremely sorry to have caused her such stress. So unintended. Frank, unintended is what Djokovic says. What's the takeaway of this entire episode? Did it warrant a DQ from the U.S. Open?
Novak Djokovic blew it. This guy was supposed to win the U.S. Open. And what he did there, now listen, if the ball hits the lines person in the leg and they don't flinch, is he getting disqualified? I don't know about that. But by the letter of the law, you cannot hit the ball at a lines person. They're going by the rules. It stinks for the U.S. Open, but he made a big mistake and it cost him dearly.
And unintended? Are you all right with that use of word?
No, I'm not. You hit a lines person. There has to be some type of decorum on the court. You can't get away with that. It's the rules. A few years ago with Serena, code violation, then she lost a game. Those are the rules. Even the best players have to follow them.
Woody Page?
I was at Wimbledon in 1995 when Tim Henman was the first guy in open competition to actually be disqualified with his partner, Jeremy Bates, because he hit a ball girl in the ear. So yes, it's the precedent has been established that if you're going to hit somebody that is working the tennis court, you deserve to be disqualified. He's had a bad year. He didn't want to play in the U.S. Open, he said months ago, so he got exactly what he deserved. $2.5 million. He misses.
Bomani Jones.
Man, once you hit that lady in the throat, all these technicalities don't matter. Like, that's that, and it's a wrap. And shout out to Djokovic, who's basically spent 2020 messing it up for everybody. The dude that threw his own tournament during COVID and then everybody went out and then they caught it. And now the most attractive draw, the guy on the men's draw, and now he messed it up for everybody getting himself tossed out.
You're right. There was intention, though, in hitting the ball. He intended to hit the ball.
Exactly.
Whether he intended to hit somebody in the throat or not. But
that's right.
Frank, you brought up the Serena. You're comparing this now to the Serena?
No. Well, first of all, she wasn't disqualified. I think a lot of people were bringing it up, and my point was, this is what happens in tennis. We don't want those to be the rules. We don't want to see Serena lose a game. We don't want to see Novak Djokovic kicked out, but they're going by the rules. And to your point, Tony, I don't know. I don't think he intended to hit her in the throat, but that's what happened. That's what they're basing the rule on. That's why he had to go.
Monty, do you want to address?
No Nadal, no Federer. This is his tournament to win.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't really care what it was that he was trying to do. I think that people would say that with Serena, it looked worse because there was so much emotion behind it, but she ain't hit nobody in the throat.
Exactly. See, that's where I am with this, too. I mean, with the Serena, she's entitled, she's dramatic. Oh, she's entitled. She's got about 24 titles, right? This is something different, though. This is actually hitting the ball and hitting a linesperson.
He was disqualified, though. He wasn't.
Yep, no, that's true. Buy or sell, too. 2 NFL deals to talk about. Big money in these deals. DeAndre Hopkins getting number 4 wide receiver money from Arizona today, $18.8 million on average the next 5 years. Deshaun Watson getting number 2 quarterback money this weekend. Average annual salary for Mahomes is $45, and then Watson's next at $39. Bomani, let's start with Watson. Buy or sell? Houston giving him that type of extension.
Oh, yeah, got to buy it. This is your franchise now. That's the guy. You go ahead and give him that kind of money, and especially it's Bill O'Brien. He'll make anybody's dreams come true down there as a general manager. I was interested in the deal for Hopkins just because it was so short. I would expect that he would have wanted something to be longer, but that's a lot of guaranteed money.
Woody Page?
Oh, I'm buying it, but I'm selling the fact that it wasn't longer. 4 years, I think they should have signed him up for 10 years. Look at Mahomes. But I believe that a guy that goes as the only quarterback with 25 touchdown passes and 5 rushing passes back-to-back years in the history of the NFL, yes, he is their future, and it should be beyond 2025. But 40 million, 35 million, that's the new 20 million in the NFL. There are 5 guys making
that is a good
35
point,
million.
About he would be coming up at age 29. Do I have that right? Maybe age 30? Right around there.
He's 25
Frank
now.
Isola, first on Watson?
Well, Tony, in a quarterback league, of course you're going to pay Watson. I do believe that you could win with him. He's been good, not great in the playoffs. But the one thing about all these quarterbacks, can we just admit there's Mahomes and then everybody else? Watson, you could win with him. He's not Patrick Mahomes. Not yet, not even.
It's entirely possible Hopkins, who's getting number 4 receiver money, is closer to number 1 receiver than Watson, as good as he is close to number 1 Mahomes here. Who's going home here, speaking of Mahomes? Scores right now look like that's Isola. 20 points per game average. That's where you've been since we came back from sheltering in. Bomani Jones, Woody Page, showdown, 2 minutes. BYU 55, Navy 3. And Army 42, Middle Tennessee State nothing. And Memphis, Marshall, and just about every home team winning big except Southern Miss. And after that, head coach Jay Hobson resigned after the 32-21 loss to South Alabama. First coaching vacancy of the college football season coming in week 1. Woody, opening week of this season, have you thinking there's a greater chance this is going to be able to be pulled off and normal and exciting or not?
It wasn't real to me. It was surreal. Or it was unreal. Watching that Navy BYU game last night with nobody there, I'm just disappointed. I think we're going to see more of that, just problems in not only college football but the NFL. It's not a real game.
We saw a team that didn't suit up any tight ends because they were all in contact tracing. They had to put the offensive lineman there. It wasn't like they was running the running shoot. Just you get ready. You are going to have no idea what's going to happen from week to week.
Woody, I don't share your skepticism here. I was happy to watch these games. Point, Bomani Jones will move on. Showdown 2, Jadeveon Clowney signing with the Titans. What that does to a team that was so close to the Super Bowl last year. How good are the Titans with Clowney, Bomani?
I mean, look, I don't care what you say about sack numbers, about where he lines up with the other guys in this draft. That dude is still disruptive. That dude is still a monster, and that's a dude you want on your team.
Yes, he's going to return the Titans to upper tier in the NFL, I believe. They lost Jarrell Casey, but they've signed Vic Beasley Jr. They're going to rotate there. He's playing under his coach that he had his best season with. I think it's a big deal.
Well, since you both agree, Woody Page, a veteran of Around the Horn should know you're both getting a point, but we're out of time. Bomani Jones 2, Woody Page 1. 30 seconds to Bomani.
Oh, man, Woody, let me jump in your backyard right fast. Colorado, the university, they have got the first official sports betting agreement in NCAA history. They got it with a company called PointsBet that's going to be building their facilities near Denver. And all I have to tell you, Colorado, is the players can see what you're doing. Like, in a year where y'all are giving the game away, having a relationship with the gambling company like this, you're telling the players just how much money they're worth. In just one day, I'm not sure when it is, they coming to get it. You better be ready, and I hope they come get it as soon as possible. This is ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
You don't seem like you think this is possible, Woody, okay? Brave new world. All right, Bomani Jones. Today's win.
No.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Woody Page.
Anything
Back
goes in
tomorrow.
Colorado.